Imagine waking up one morning to find the world doesn't make sense anymore. Not because something changed, but because for the first time you're seeing clearly. The ads sound absurd. The endless scroll feels hollow. The jobs, the noise, the rat race, all of it, suddenly seems like a brilliant illusion. You walk outside and see people moving quickly, eyes down, minds elsewhere. You try to speak, but no one listens. Not because you're silent, but because you're no longer speaking the language of the asleep. You're waking up, and the world around you isn't ready. But what if it was never designed to be? What if the systems you were born into, school, media, work, politics, weren't created to liberate you, but to contain you? What if the anxiety you feel isn't a flaw in your wiring, but a sane response to a deeply insane environment? What if the depression, the burnout, the chronic dissatisfaction aren't signs of your failure to adapt, but your soul's refusal to surrender? Because here's the truth you were never told. A fully awake human is dangerous. Not dangerous to others, not violent, not chaotic. Dangerous to the system. Because a conscious human stops consuming compulsively, stops obeying blindly, stops chasing things that kill them slowly. They start asking real questions. They stop living as cogs and start living as creators. And the moment you do that, you threaten everything society depends on. Your anxiety, profitable, your loneliness, marketable, your confusion about who you are and what matters, the fuel that keeps the machine running. So the world distracts you, entertains you, addicts you to your own despair. It gives you idols to worship, images to envy, news to fear, and somewhere in that blur, you forget. Forget what stillness feels like. Forget what it means to be. Forget that you're not here to survive capitalism. You're here to remember yourself, and yet, most people never do. Not because they're stupid, not because they're weak, because waking up hurts. It requires dismantling everything you thought was true. It means realizing the ladder you were told to climb was leaning against the wrong wall all along. It means grieving the years spent chasing someone else's dream. And most of all, it means becoming responsible. No longer blaming the system. No longer blaming your parents. No longer waiting for a savior. Because waking up is not a moment. It's a burden, a sacred one. So society whispers, stay distracted, stay small, stay busy. And we listen, because waking up means being alone at first, until you learn to see with new eyes and realize you were never alone. You were just surrounded by people still sleeping. So here's the question that opens everything. If your life was built inside a dream, would you be brave enough to question the dream itself? If your pain wasn't personal, but systemic, would you have the courage to stop pathologizing yourself and start seeing clearly? Would you risk being seen as mad in order to reclaim your sanity? In the next section, we'll pull back the curtain. We'll look directly at the forces, economic, psychological, cultural, that depend on your unconsciousness. We'll trace how modern society systematically cultivates numbness, disconnection, and fear. Not by accident, but by design. There's a myth we're all sold, that we're free, that we make our own choices, that if we're unhappy, it's because we're not trying hard enough. But what if that freedom is mostly theatrical, a carefully staged illusion, complete with consumer choices, elections, and motivational slogans, designed to mask your cage? Let's start at the beginning. From birth, you're conditioned into systems that prize obedience over awareness. School doesn't teach you to think. It teaches you to conform, to sit still, to memorize, to passively accept authority. Creativity becomes disruption. Curiosity becomes talking back. Emotion becomes a problem. And slowly, piece by piece, your wildness is shaved down to fit a machine. By the time you reach adulthood, you've learned how to perform, not live. And what's the reward for all this compliance? A life of quiet despair. You're promised happiness if you work hard, success if you stay disciplined, fulfillment if you consume the right things, but none of it delivers, so you internalize the failure. Maybe I'm broken. Maybe I just need better habits. Maybe I need another productivity app. You don't need optimization. You need liberation. Psychologist Erich Fromm once said, "The fact that millions of people share the same forms of mental pathology does not make those people sane. Anxiety, depression, addiction. These aren't just personal pathologies. They are symptoms of a collective sickness. A culture built on disconnection. A society that sells identity as a product. A system that mistakes convenience for meaning."
Think about it. We live in a world where everything essential to the soul is treated as optional, while everything that numbs the soul is made mandatory. Stillness is indulgent. Speed is celebrated. Presence is a luxury. Multitasking is a virtue. You are told to brand yourself, sell yourself, optimize yourself, as if you were a product, not a person. The economy thrives on your dissatisfaction. You're more profitable unhappy. If you truly loved yourself, you'd stop buying half of what's being sold. If you truly connected with others, you wouldn't need algorithmic validation. If you trusted your own rhythms, you wouldn't need to be managed. And so the culture manufactures doubt, not just in institutions, but in yourself, because self-doubt creates the perfect consumer. Even your worth is outsourced, defined by numbers, followers, grades, salaries, steps counted, minutes productive. You become obsessed with metrics and forget your essence. Forget how to sit in a room without a screen and feel yourself living. Forget how to be bored without panic, how to be unproductive without shame, how to be silent without searching for a noise to fill it. This is not random. This is conditioning. Aldous Huxley warned us. The most effective form of control is where people love their servitude. This is where we are now, not in chains, but in feedback loops, endless stimulation, endless distraction. You're not imprisoned. You're entranced. And what about your mind? You were never taught to master it, only to escape it. So when trauma rises, you suppress it. When grief surfaces, you distract yourself. When boredom comes, you scroll. The system doesn't want you to be with yourself, because a person who knows themselves is unmanageable. So they teach you self-help as another form of control. Hack your mindset. Fix your flaws. Be more productive, but not. Sit in your body. Question everything. Tear it all down and rebuild from truth. That would be dangerous. That would be awakening. Even your rebellion has been commodified. You can dress differently, get tattoos, vote for the opposition. But if you still depend on the system for your worth, your image, your sense of self, then the rebellion is just another costume, just another sandbox they built for you to play in. And yet, despite all this, something in you resists. You felt it in moments when you disconnected from the noise and suddenly remembered how alive you are, in the tears that came from nowhere, in the rage that had no obvious source, in the dream you dismissed as unrealistic, but couldn't forget. These aren't glitches. They are signals, evidence that you are still in there, underneath the roles, underneath the programming, underneath the numbness. You remain, but here's the truth. Waking up won't make you popular. It may cost you friendships, status, comfort. You'll begin to see through things others still believe in. You'll speak truths that make people uncomfortable. You'll stop participating in rituals that once made you feel safe. But for the first time, you'll breathe, really breathe. You'll sleep deeply, love honestly, grieve fully, laugh without the filter of performance. You'll feel human again. In the next section, we'll explore what happens when you don't wake up, not as punishment, but as the tragic fate of those who confuse comfort with truth. We'll explore the unseen consequences of staying asleep. It begins innocently, a missed opportunity here, a gut instinct ignored there, an uneasy feeling shrugged off for sake of being realistic. You keep moving, you keep producing, you stay busy, but something sacred begins to wither. Your soul. At first, it's subtle. You laugh less deeply. You avoid eye contact a little more. You stop asking questions that once lit your mind on fire. You replace wonder with cynicism, joy with sarcasm, stillness with endless distraction. But you tell yourself it's just part of getting older. Everyone feels like this. It's normal. But normal has never meant healthy. As you remain asleep, the world you live in starts to shrink, not physically, but spiritually. You no longer see meaning. You see transactions, exchanges, utility. Even people become functions. The partner who supports you, the friend who entertains you, the therapist who fixes you. Depth is replaced with efficiency. And you forget what it's like to feel moved by anything. But the body remembers. It always remembers. So it starts to send you messages. First in whispers, anxiety, low-grade fatigue, insomnia that no supplement fixes. Then louder, panic, depression, physical illness with no clear diagnosis. Not because you are broken, but because you are betraying the part of you that knows. Knows this is not what life is meant to be. Knows that something real, something unspeakably vast, is being sacrificed for the illusion of control. Carl Jung said, people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. He was right. We work ourselves to the bone. We chase relationships that mirror our wounds. We fill every waking second with noise. Because silence is dangerous when you're asleep. Silence is where the dream begins to crack. So what happens when you stay asleep? You become fragmented, split between the person you present and the one screaming underneath. That scream becomes resentment, not just at others, at yourself, at your job, your routines, your family, your choices. You lash out, you withdraw, you lose your sense of why. Not because life is meaningless, but because you're not inside it anymore. You're just performing it. Eventually, you start to crave collapse. Not consciously, but somewhere deep inside. You hope something will fall apart. A breakup, a breakdown, a global crisis. Because you need the interruption. You need the shake-up. Because your soul knows what your ego doesn't. That chaos is the only thing left strong enough to wake you. But here's the worst part. You still look successful. You still function. You go to work. You hit goals. You smile at the right times. No one knows how hollow you feel. You've mastered the art of appearing fine, and society rewards you for it. You're praised for your resilience, your discipline, your commitment to pushing through. But the truth? You're pushing through yourself. And then one day, you forget there was ever a real you. You become the mask, the one who never rocks the boat, never questions a narrative, never remembers that your life was supposed to be more than tolerable. You confuse comfort with freedom, stability with purpose, and worst of all, you confuse survival with aliveness. This is not living. It's existing, drifting from task to task, goal to goal, without ever asking, is this mine? Is this what I came here for? You may not be in a cell, but you are imprisoned by routine, by roles, by your fear of losing what little control you think you have. You become safe, and in that safety, you've died a little. But somewhere inside, a piece of you remembers. A fragment untouched by the world's conditioning. It remembers what wonder felt like, what truth sounded like, what your own voice used to say before you edited it to be palatable. This part of you never sleeps. It waits for a moment, a question, a breakdown, a story like this one, to whisper, there's still time. Come back. We're not done. So if you felt disconnected, if you looked around at a world that makes you feel insane for being sensitive, honest, or awake, know this. Your discomfort is not a disorder. It's your integrity refusing to die quietly. It's the soul knocking from the inside, begging you to stop treating numbness as a normal state of being. In the next section, we rise. We ask, if waking up hurts this much, why do it? And the answer may change the way you see everything. You don't wake up with a breakthrough. You wake up with a decision, a quiet, radical vow to stop living someone else's script, to stop seeking permission to be whole, to stop performing a version of yourself that feels increasingly foreign. You say, no more. I am not a brand. I am not a cog. I am not here to be productive. I am here to be alive. This is the beginning, the moment you stop sleepwalking and take your first conscious breath. Rebellion, in this age, isn't loud. It's internal, invisible. It begins when you turn your gaze inward, not to fix yourself, but to meet yourself, the version of you who still dreams, still wonders, still aches for something more real. That part of you buried to be acceptable, employable, digestible. You dig them up. You say, I remember you, and I'm listening now. You begin to question everything you once obeyed without thought. Why do I do what I do? Who taught me this was success? What parts of my life feel alive and which feel like death? You sit with these questions, not to get answers, but to feel where the lie lives in your body. And that's where the system starts to crack. Not from outside revolt, but from within. You're no longer obedient. You're aware. The next step, you stop outsourcing your truth. You stop looking to screens, influencers, and algorithms to tell you how to feel, think, dress, speak, live. You start building inner literacy, learning the language of your own intuition. Your body's yes, your soul's no, your anger's wisdom, your grief's map. You become your own oracle, and that terrifies a machine, because a self-led person is a person the system cannot predict or control. You stop medicating your discomfort with dopamine loops and digital distractions. You begin replacing stimulation with sensation. You feel the hunger. You sit in the silence. You watch the storm without running from it. You remember this is what it means to feel. And no, it isn't always pleasant, but it's real. And after years of simulated living, reality becomes holy. You start unlearning the lie that your worth is tied to productivity. You rest, not as reward, but as rebellion. You take walks with no purpose. You create without monetizing. You connect without broadcasting. You give yourself the gift of invisibility, not to disappear, but to reappear inwardly. You make room for the sacred again. And when the pressure to perform returns, as it will, you don't collapse. You breathe. You say, I know that voice, the one that says I must earn love, but I've met the truth now, and she doesn't demand that. You reclaim time, attention, agency, not all at once, but moment by moment, breath by breath. You shift from reaction to response, from survival to sovereignty. You start choosing connection over consumption. You seek people who make you feel, not just seen, but known. You learn to speak from your heart, not your role. You stop impressing. You start expressing. You let silence stretch between words. Let tears come in public. Let laughter ring out without shame. You return to your animal body, your sacred heart, your original frequency, and suddenly, life feels possible again. But the most powerful rebellion? You stop pretending not to know. You stop betraying your truth for approval. You stop gaslighting your instincts to maintain peace. You stop lying to yourself for comfort. Because awakening isn't about escaping the world. It's about finally facing it and bringing your whole self to the surface, regardless of who stays, who leaves, or what breaks. Yes, it's terrifying. It will cost you the old life, the comfortable lie, the performative relationships, the identity you thought was you. But what you gain in return is yourself, your breath, your presence, your strange, sacred humanity, and the unshakable knowing that, no matter what happens out there, I am awake in here. In the final section, we arrive at the ultimate insight, the truth that makes all of this make sense, a revelation so intimate it can't be taught, only remembered. The ultimate truth is this: you were never asleep, not completely. Some part of you, no matter how buried, how silenced, how domesticated, never stopped watching. You know this. You felt it in the tension that never goes away, in the dreams that feel more real than your days, in the flashes of clarity that crack through the fog and whisper, this isn't it. There's more. You're more. And for a moment, everything stands still. You see it. You feel it. You remember. Then it fades. You re-enter the noise. You tell yourself it was just a mood, a phase, a distraction. But it wasn't. It was the real you, slipping through the cracks. So here it is, the secret the system cannot afford for you to see. You are not the life you were trained to live. You are not your job, your schedule, your image, your history. You are not the metrics, not the mask, not the echo of who others wanted you to be. You are what remains. When all that is gone, you are awareness itself, consciousness, breath, presence, a living contradiction that cannot be reduced to roles. And that is terrifying to the machine, to the world, even to you, because if you are not what they told you, then who are you? This is the abyss most never cross, because it requires death, not of your body, but of your identity. The false self must die, for the real self to be born, the good student, the perfect employee, the obedient citizen, the pleasing child, the efficient machine. They served you once. They protected you, but they are not you. And if you want to live, really live, you must be willing to let them go, not with rage, with reverence. Thank them, mourn them, then bury them with your own two hands. And what emerges from the grave? Something wild, untamed, unapologetic, unmarketable, something that can't be managed because it isn't try and perform. Your soul, not the poetic idea of a soul, not the spiritual bypassing of a soul, but the real one, the one that grieves when you lie, that recoils at inauthenticity, that glows when you speak the truth, the one that doesn't care what's trending because it's attuned to eternity. This is the ultimate awakening. You are not here to fit in. You are here to remember yourself. Fully, fiercely, finally, you are here to tell the truth, even when your voice shakes, to love without armor, to say no without guilt, to say yes without permission. You are here to stop explaining your aliveness, to stop apologizing for your depth, to stop shrinking so others don't feel insecure in your presence. You are here to take up space, not arrogantly, but authentically, to be so fully yourself that it reminds others of who they are. That is the revolution, because an awakened soul, it cannot be controlled. It cannot be sold to. It cannot be seduced by hollow promises. It sees through the performance, the systems, the games, and in seeing through them, it becomes free, not externally, not politically, existentially. And no, this isn't easy. Waking up is lonely. It's disorienting. It's painful. You will lose people. You will lose dreams that were never really yours. You will lose the comfort of certainty. But what you gain is truth. And once you taste truth, not as a concept, but as an experience, you will never go back. You won't be able to, because the body never unremembers. The soul never unknows. The awakened cannot fall fully back to sleep. So now, the only question left is, will you honor what you've seen? Will you walk this path alone? If no one follows, will you protect the flame inside, even when the world tries to blow it out?